It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels.
Hello, good evening. What's happening, guys? I think it should be good. Yeah, I think we're good. Good evening. How's everybody? Hope you've had a good weekend. I'm going to do a little bit of painting here and there to finish the weekend up, I guess. And I am going to be putting Evil Sun Scarlet on Desolation Marines. I was tempted to build some of Leviathan as well tonight. I don't know. We'll see what I'll see. I've got 2 sets of the Marine stuff from Leviathan, so I've got a lot of Leviathan to look at as well. But good evening, thanks for tuning in. How's everybody? Hope you enjoyed some of the live games we had yesterday. I feel like I learnt quite a lot about 10th edition yesterday. And yeah, both Eldar and Knights are very solid adversaries, I would say. 2 very, very strong armies for us to deal with. I have a lot of thoughts on those. So if you've got like specific questions you want to ask about like any of the games yesterday, or if you just want to ask anything now that I've played a few games of 10th edition, like what I feel about Blood Angels, I can answer them. But I'm also 100% going to be making a video probably this week on every unit that I ran this weekend, and talking over like what I liked about the unit, what I felt it was good for, how its points played out, just everything. So I mean, I'll make a full in-depth breakdown of like my first few games and how I felt about the game. Good evening, Mike. Good evening, Daryl. Good evening, Miles. Get the Stern Guard built, says Miles. I mean, I can probably proxy some Stern Guard in that, like, I've got a million intercessors, right? I was gonna say, like, maybe I could just, like, grab some Firstborn combi weapon parts and glue them to the top of the intercessors' guns, and then they'd be combi weapons. Stern Guard are probably, like, I was looking through the models this morning, Miles. Stern Guard are possibly one of the models that I like the look of the most, or that I want to build the most. The new Terminator Captain is very cool. He's on a giant base, by the way. I didn't expect... I actually have a question about that then, right? My opponent brought 30 Terminators and 3 Terminator characters and 2 Land Raider Crusaders. How did he get on in that game, Monkey Llama? That sounds insane. If the Terminator Captain that's provided in the Leviathan box is on a 50mm base, I mean, technically you could put your old Terminator Captains on a 50mm base. I was thinking about that a minute ago. I was like, oh cool, I can get him on a bigger base because that'll help him. Well, it won't anymore because he doesn't have auras, so being on a bigger base doesn't actually help him. So I was thinking, like, would there be any reason, like, let's say you've got a Terminator Captain with a Thunder Hammer and, like, a Storm Shield or something that you were going to potentially run in Leviathan, or potentially you were going to run in 10th edition. Is there any advantage whatsoever to putting him on a 50mm base like he is in the Leviathan box? I was thinking about it and I couldn't think of any reason. Does anyone have a reason? Good evening, David. Good evening, Gregory. Lee, what's happening? Snowy says, hey Commander, can you explain the controversy with towering? I just don't get it. Most people say windows are closed, which solves the issue. The controversy with towering is that they can see straight through windows. So it's like, that's the whole issue with it. You can see like through the pieces of terrain as towering, but you can also be seen. But I think the issue, the reason people don't like it is because the knights can basically just see everything. And the knights typically have like a lot more targets or a lot more firepower. So they can pick off units that normally would be hidden inside vehicles or, not vehicles, inside terrain and stuff like that. So towering, if you have a question that you really want to get answered as well, please remember, members, you get a free super chat every month. So you guys are more than welcome to use your free super chat. It'll ping up on my screen and you'll definitely get an answer in this stream. So yeah, I think the issue with towering is even if you have a piece of terrain that has windows, a towering model doesn't care, it just sees right through the terrain, and I think people are saying that benefits. I mean, it's a disadvantage to the knights as well because they can be seen and shot through the terrain, but I think it benefits them more than it hinders them. Because normally knights are going to be seen and shot anyway because they're so damn tall, right? So I don't think there's any way to hide from towering models, Snowy, and I think that's the issue. The knights do a lot of damage. There's absolutely no way to hide from them. My game against knights was difficult, right? Like, Miles says even with closed windows, the knights would use true line of sight and still be able to see over the terrain. Yeah, pretty much. So with windows, they can see everything. With closed terrain is about the only way that you can fight against knights. I was going to say, when you're fighting an army like knights, having the ability to get like +1 strength when you charge is actually kind of worthless. +1 on the wound roll, like we used to have, was really good, but +1 on strength is actually kind of worthless. Because Miles had a toughness 13 knight, so I don't know how +1 strength really helps me in any way, shape, or form against toughness 13 knights. I mean, the answer is it doesn't, right? Monkey says he failed every friggin' charge from Deep Strike. Yeah, you can't. Blood Angels, I feel like last edition you couldn't rely on charges. This edition, I feel like the only unit that you can probably... I was going to say, about the only unit you can probably do a Deep Strike charge with is Dante and the Sanguinary Guard for 66% chance. Or the Librarian Dreadnought for like sorry, not the Librarian Dreadnought, the Death Company Dreadnought. And the cool, like, the Death Company Dreadnought is great in that, like, he can go in and he can fight. Snowy, thank you so much for becoming a member, dude. I really do appreciate it. The Death Company Dreadnought is great for his damage output, but the 0C on Death Company is kind of a problem, I guess. Because it's like, even if he goes in and kills something, then you have to back him up with something else, or it was kind of a pointless kill because you're not going to get anything out of it. And I think I saw that yesterday where I killed a knight on an objective, and it was like, well, I have OC 0, so as great it is that I've killed that knight, I'm not going to be able to get anything out of this, which potentially is a problem, I guess, right? Nathan says, I haven't played Knights in 10th yet. How bad were the Armiger Helverins for jump pack units if you played anyway? Knights were really difficult for me to deal with. He basically had he had about 800 points of Knights that hadn't even taken a single wound off. It took a lot to take the Knights down. I mean, the Knights are toughness 10, right? So like, even the Armigers are toughness 10. So they're not easy to wound. Like, you're never going to get great wound rolls on them, even like with the Blood Angels +1 strength, +1 attack. Someone said to me after the game, they were like, would you have done Astaroth with Death Company and Power Fists and used his ability because you get more attacks? And I was like, yeah, do you know what, technically I think there might be some play here around like Astaroth with Power Fists and Infernal Pistols might actually be better than Thunderhammers now. But I mean, who's got Death Company with Power Fists and Infernal Pistols made? Nobody. Everybody's done the hammer build because the hammer build was the staple. And by having the hammer now, you actually lose it. You get less attacks, and you get a worse chance to hit. And if you get made -1 to hit on those Thunderhammers, then all of a sudden those Thunderhammers are hitting on 5s, which is pretty brutal. I think a lot of people overlooked that. How did the matchups go down yesterday? I got beat both games. I feel like I probably learned a little bit around the synergies of like the Marine lists and what I can and can't bring going forward. But I do think that the two armies I played were definitely stronger than what I brought anyway. I don't think I like Redemptor Dreadnoughts at all. I think they're overcosted, and I'm probably not going to field any more of them for the... Redemptor Dreadnoughts are a weird one. There's so many times, like, they had them overcosted, like, they had them at a good cost when they first came out, and they stayed there for a little while, and then they were overcosted for ages, and then they brought them back down, and now I just feel like they're overcosted again. Yeah. You know, like, 225 point Redemptor Dreadnought basically did nothing and wasn't even allowed to roll an armor save when it died. It's like, not sure. 100% not sure on Redemptor Dreadnoughts. Hello Jim, how are you? Have you grown to hate the Space Elves? I like playing strong armies, so I think it's good to play against Eldar. I don't really hate them. But I think Eldar are going to need some sort of tweak on some of their mechanics, because they can be... the list Miles had basically had... it just has they just have far too much mortal wound / devastating wound potential, I guess. It was just disgusting how much came through. Arturk, thank you so much for subscribing. How did the Sangori Guard feel relating to the point increase? I mean, they felt like I said that they would feel. I felt like they're overcosted. Again, it's for Sangori Guard, for me, it's the same issue as it was last edition. You know, you get -1 to hit. Well, people can counter that with rerolls. You get -1 to wound, well, Eldar just counter that by casting Doom, which is +1 to wound. So very quickly, the two bonuses that the Sangori Guard have are gone. And then when they're gone, they're just a 2-wound Marine with no invulnerable save, right? And yeah, I mean, they're not... I think I lost the whole squad, like all 5 of them, in one round of combat to like... What was it, like 5 striking scorpions and maybe like 4 howling banshees. So I mean, like, Sangori Guard to me, I just don't know if I feel like they're viable. I guess I could have played Armor of Contempt on them. I think I could have played Armor of Contempt on them. I didn't do that. I mean, it's the first time playing, so obviously I was going to forget stratagems and stuff, and there's new strats, and not really sure when I should use the strats and stuff. In that situation, I think I probably should have played Armor of Contempt. I think I just blanked on it, right? Like, we just got Armor of Contempt Black as an option as a strat. Pretty sure I didn't use it, and I feel like I could have, and it would have probably maybe saved like one guy. But Yes, Sangregar to me felt very overcosted, and their damage didn't even feel good anymore, right? Because like their damage before was really good because +1 to wound. Well, we don't have that anymore, and also their AP got reduced a lot as well. It felt very weird, right? Because Games Workshop had been like saying that like, hey, this edition's going to feel less lethal. Well, my Sangregar didn't feel it at all. They were just dead. What is this red? Super red. This is Evil Sun Scarlet. So I base coated them Mephiston red. And then I'm going to paint them Evil Sun Scarlet. The reason some people edge highlight with Evil Sun Scarlet. I'm lazy, so I'll base coat them Evil Sun Scarlet, and then I'll just wash most of the model with like Agrax or something, and that way it'll bring Evil Sun like back down a layer of brightness to something that looks more grim dark. So that's my lazy man's way of painting Blood Angels. I can if you don't believe me if it works, I can show you a red guy what he looks like after he's been washed. I think it looks fine. David, good evening. War Thunder says, I'm confused about Intercessor's OBSEC wording in the new index. Can you explain it? Do you mean the sticky objective thing? War Thunder, or what exactly do you mean? I mean, as far as I know, Intercessors are OC2 and they have the sticky objective. I assumed the wording was the same as last edition, but I actually haven't checked it. It's Wild Rider Red is very similar to Evil Sun Scarlet, but that's what this is. It's a tone brighter than Mephiston Red. I think of it more like it's more like, you know, the very first Space Marines used to paint in the 90s, when they were a little bit more red and a little bit less grim dark. That's what Evil Sun reminds me of. But I mean, I'm still matching my color scheme from the 90s, so it makes sense to me to paint them the same. Clint says, except from some data sheet issues, I like the rule set for 10th. I do and I don't, Clint. I don't like the obnoxiousness of Overwatch or where we've returned to with Overwatch. I don't know if you remember in 8th edition. 8th edition, every single charge you made, your opponent did Overwatch against it. And it was really nasty for melee army. It made me playing melee armies just like a drag almost. So when I was playing Knights, he was able to overwatch me in both the movement phase and the charge phase. So like my Centurions, I wanted to move my Centurions 4 inches because that's all they can move. And in doing so, I got overwatched by I got overwatched by a big knight when I moved, and I think I lost one of them. And then when I went to charge an Armiger, another big knight shot Overwatch and killed another Centurion. So, we're back to like some armies being potentially quite obnoxious with Overwatch, and there's no way you can stop that now, right? Because you don't even need to shoot Overwatch with the unit that you're charging against. You just Overwatch with something else within 24 inches. So, well, of course, like they're not going to Overwatch with their Armiger. They're going to Overwatch with a giant knight with a million guns on it, right? So, for the most part, I enjoyed my games of 10th, but I was like, oh man, our melee army is going to get gimped on, or dunked on, or whatever you want to call it, because if everybody's got the ability to Overwatch like 2 times, you're almost better just standing still and shooting, right? Captain Crofty says you need some... I've been using Evil Sun Scarlet for as long as I can remember. I'll actually give these guys 2 coats of Evil Sun Scarlet. I'll just make it like very, very red. You can see you can see how much bright... Well, I mean, the spray on top, I guess. You can see how much brighter it is in the Mephiston red. How did he Overwatch twice? Because one of his knights had that ability that says you can use a stratagem for 0 CP and one that's already been used this phase. So he just Overwatches twice. So yeah, it was That's pretty brutal, actually. Like, I don't know what other armies are going to have that. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of damage to have to weather inside your turn, right? 2 big knights firing. I think one of the big knights had like a 3d6 flamers or 3d3 flamers. Each flamer's 2 damage. Yeah, tough. It reminded me of 8th edition, and I was like, oh man. I remember what this was like in 8th edition, where it was like every single time you charge, you're losing like a boatload of your models, and it's tough to play. Also, losing our additional movement is rough as well. I played one game of the Sanguinius detachment, Sons of Sanguinius, and I played one game of the Gladiatus detachment. And the one thing that stood out to me was like the ability to advance and charge in the Gladiatus detachment. Felt well, I guess, and fall back and charge. I used both. I used my advance and charge. I used my fall back and charge, and I was like, man, the doctrines seem really useful. Does it mean it's sticky? You know, I'm 100% sure it means it's sticky, War Thunder. Give me 1 second. Marines. Codex Marines. Intercessors. Alright. Intercessors. What does it say? It says, if you control the objective marker at the end of your command phase with this unit is within range of the objective marker, that marker remains under your control even if you've no models in range of it until your opponent controls it at the start of end of any turn. Yeah, it just means it's sticky. It means it's yours, and as it says, until the opponent controls it. In some ways that's actually really strong, because if the opponent contests it, i.e. they put one model on it and you have one model as well, then it's still yours because you stickied it beforehand. So yeah, I could see intercessors being used for the ability to have some sticky objectives. I did almost run some intercessors. I did consider them because I don't have that much. I didn't have that much battle line in either of the forces that I had actually this weekend. But I did consider intercessors just because of the sticky objectives, and that has been really useful. I have found that really useful in like Arts of Omen and stuff. Whether or not it's going to be worth like the 95 points to take a squad of intercessors, I guess is another question. But I guess we'll see. There's no rule that allows Overwatch in multiple phases per turn. If there is a rule that allows a stratagem again, it's per phase, not per turn. Overwatch is only once per turn. Did we play that wrong? Let me read it. Have I got my printout of the core? I've got the rulebook here. Would that have the... does the rulebook have the core stratagems in it? I just bashed the rulebook off the chair. Nice. Does the rulebook have the core stratagems? Well, I think I just saw them there, maybe. Would it be stratagems? Yeah, page 41, okay. Page 41, but the book's broken into like 3 parts that all have different page numbers. That's useful. Where is the damn... are the actual rules in the rulebook.
I have awoken.
Victor, thank you so much for subscribing. Oh my god, I feel like an idiot. I can't even... There we go, okay. Yeah, it's like a section in the middle of the rulebook has the core stratagems in it. I'm going to put that little binder thing in there. Hold on. Fire Overwatch. One unit from your army that is within 24 of the enemy would be able to shoot. You can shoot as if it is your unit's shooting phase. You only hit on 6s. You can only use this stratagem once per turn. So what does Canis's, like, I think it's basically the same rule as like Rights of Battle that the captain has, right? Which says captain with a jump pack maybe. Once per battle, one unit for your army with this ability can be targeted for stratagem for 0 CP, even if another unit from your army has already been targeted by that stratagem this phase. Huh, maybe we played Overwatch wrong then. Maybe Miles was getting an advantage there, I guess. That's a confusing one because they normally say when a unit has a rule that supersedes on the data sheet, then you go with what's superseded on the data sheet. Because this is the whole argument we've been having with the Death Company Dreadnought, right? It's like some people think the Death Company Dreadnought can fight twice. Some people say he can't fight twice. Well, to me, because the rule is on his data sheet, for me it makes it sound like he should be able to fight twice. Because that rule is on like Canis Rex and says like he can use a stratagem that's already been used, then technically that might be okay. But yeah, I guess you could argue both ways that you can't Overwatch again because you already done it. Oh well, that makes me feel better. We need to get clarification on that. Hello Gav, good evening, how are you? Because that might make a bit more sense. That might be a bit more balanced than I thought. I think that there's probably going to be a giant FAQ because it feels like there's a lot of questions in the community at the moment. I was watching an article. I was watching an article. I was watching a video by Hellstorm Gaming earlier, and he was saying like in Germany they're already basically banning or changing Devastating Wounds for certain things because like Devastating Wounds is just doing so many mortal wounds in situations, and like it's doing so many mortal wounds that like the whole talk of like this edition being less lethal and less mortal wounds is complete crap. Like we're doing way more mortal wounds than we were doing last edition. The potential there is to do way more now, and you know, when they said this edition is less lethal, I don't know what they were talking about either, because like in both the games that I played, my army was basically tabled in turn 3. Like it didn't feel anything less lethal. If anything, it felt like it's almost more lethal. I don't know if it was just Devastating Wounds and stuff like that. I mean, there was a bunch of devastating, like, you know, like my Redemptor, one attack just took 12 mortal wounds. My Terminators, I think they took 15 mortal wounds. I can't remember what else it was. There was something else, 8 mortal wounds. So it was like, you know, my army only has probably like 70 or 80 wounds collectively, maybe 100. From 3 attacks, I took, what, 12, 15, 8? Don't know, 35 mortal wounds from 3 attacks? I mean, it's supposed to be a 5-turn game. does 3 attacks, you know, like 3 different units in 1 turn each, 35 mortal wounds. And Miles doesn't even have a Wraith Knight. So, yeah, we played the Death Company Dreadnought that he can fight again once he's been fought at, because I think that's what the rules are trying to say. Once the Death Company Dreadnought has fought, he is able to fight again. So we played that, so that was correct. What's your verdict on the Overwatch, Miles? Did we play it wrong, do you think, or do you think it's valid the way we played it? I can't really tell. I don't know. I mean, there's been so many rule questions or erratas already that, like, I don't know. Maybe we played it wrong, maybe we played it right. No one in chat picked up when we were doing it, so I assume that either nobody in chat thought we were doing it wrong, or no one was paying that much attention to the game. It could have been either one, right? Or nobody, you know, everybody's new and everyone's still learning. I guess that could have been that as well. Try playing 15 Terminators. They're slow as shit, Terminators, man. I could be tempted to run 5 of them. I mean, I did run 5 of them, but I don't know if I'd ever run more than 5 Terminators. I did like the Sanguinar. I'll probably use them again. I want to try Mephiston again. I guess the Impulsor was the wrong call. I thought putting him in Impulsor would be a good idea. It might be better to try Mephiston in reserve, honestly. But I feel like an Impulsor probably works into some armies. It maybe just didn't work into what I was fighting up against. What's up, sellers? How you doing? You managed to get a game of 10th edition in yet? I was going to say, has anyone in chat finished their Leviathan box ready? Anyone got all the models built? Anyone got any of the models built? I'm probably going to try and get some more built this week, but David found Hellblasters pretty nice. I found Plasma really underwhelming, but I guess like one of my battles was against Knights, and Plasma's only ever going to wound Knights on 5 now, so that's probably just always going to feel underwhelming. Gav says he probably would say the Overwatch strat can't be played again, but other strats could be. Well, that would probably make me feel a bit better, Gav, because getting overwatched by 2 Knights every turn and one of them doing it for 0 CP felt pretty obnoxious. Like I said, I was losing half my squads before they even were I was losing models in the movement phase, and then I was losing them again in the charge phase, and it was like, man. I mean, I was already gonna struggle into Knights, and that like I've lost my +1 to wound, +1 strength. Like I said, is going to do nothing against Knights now, basically, for Blood Angels. So I was already feeling like the Knights were going to be a pretty difficult challenge, and then yeah, taking 2 rounds of Overwatch from those big Knights every turn was rough. What's funny though is that game was a whole level of a degree closer than the game against the Eldar, which just makes you question how powerful are Eldar right now. Like, wow. they're a strong army. I actually, like, I have some ideas on how I can improve my list now that I've played 10th edition. I think I could probably make a better army list. But can I beat Eldar? Probably not, even with a better list. Or using the units that I think might do better. Mike's airbrushing his Leviathan right now. Gregory's still waiting on Royal Mail. Assault Intercessors have been my MVPs. My Assault Intercessors, I want to try them again. They got killed before they got into combat. Why have they been your MVP fighter? What have they been up to? How have you been getting them into combat? Because Assault Intercessors are notoriously slow, right? And they're just chain swords. So I mean, the one thing I quite liked was you were able to buff your chain swords to -3 AP now. And I quite liked that. I was like, holy crap, okay, chain swords with -3 AP, that's pretty nice. And that's not just like, you remember you could sort of do that nonsense on 6s. No, that's just every chain sword can get buffed to -3 using stratagems and attachments and all that kind of stuff. Lee says he's built all the Space Marine half. Well done, Lee. Oh yeah, they're push fit. They're easy to build. Okay, cool. Well, I spent like most of this week building, like every night this week I've been doing hobby stuff, and I spent most of the week building Desolation Marines. And I don't overly like the kit for Desolation Marines. They take a long time to build. A lot of mold lines on them. I don't really love the kit at all for Desolation Marines. They do seem pretty good on the battlefield though, so I guess I'm happy I've got 10. I'll get 5 more coming, so I'll have 15 Desolation Marines. Probably just in time for them to nerf it, but I guess we'll see. They're very, very cheap at the moment, Desolation Marines. I think combined with Oath of Moment, they're very, very good. Lee, I think you should have a look at the Stern Guard. I think the Stern Guard are going to be a real sleeper unit. My understanding, like I was doing some maths on the Stern Guard, I think they can do a boatload of mortal wounds. Against infantry, you can probably almost like delete like just about any squad because of that anti-infantry stuff that they have. So I think the Stern Guard might be a real sleeper unit. But yeah, I mean the Terminators look cool. The Apothecary Biologist looks cool, only I don't really know how I would use the Apothecary Biologist. I forget who all you can attach to. I'd have to look that up. Is a Judiciar with 5 or 6 Blade Guard veterans a good pick? I was probably going to run that at some point soonish. I had it in my list for Saturday up until the last minute, and then I ended up trying some other stuff. But I think I ended up trying Terminators, which I mean the Terminators were good until they got hit with 15 mortal wounds from a friggin' D cannon, obscuring 20 odd inches away. But yeah, I mean like Blade Guard veterans would be good as well until they get hit with the D cannon, just the same. But yeah, no, the ability to fight first on 5 Blade Guard or 6, well technically it would be 6 Blade Guard you would be paying for the points. I think that would be good, and I think I probably will try that at some point sooner rather than later. I liked Blade Guard a lot at the end of 9th edition. They arguably got a little bit better because they made their invulnerable save in combat more reliable. So yeah, if you can have Blade Guard that can be more survivable in melee combat and fight first, I think it's good. Good evening, Turkey, how are you? Use the Impulsor trick plus the Librarian. Do I run Plasma and Scepters? No, I don't run Plasma and Scepters, and I wasn't a huge fan of Plasma before, and I think Plasma, well, it's worse now, I guess. Yeah, I mean, like with Armigers being toughness 10, then when you start shooting at these things and you're only wounding on 5s, you find out very quickly you're not going to do very much damage with Plasma and stuff like that. In hindsight, I think if you're going to bring some shooting, you might want to, I think it's the Thunder Strike. They can give you +1 to wound in the shooting phase. So I think maybe if you want to bring Plasma weaponry, it might be okay if you bring like a Thunder Strike to get +1 to wound. If you don't bring the Thunder Strike, then I guess, you know, you're only wounding on 5s, you don't really have reliable damage output into some armies. Take it or leave it, I guess. The Chaplain on Terminators gives them a 4-up versus mortal wounds. I mean, I guess that would be cool, but I mean, I wasn't running a Chaplain on a Terminator squad. Is that something, you know, like, not many people, I mean, if I'm not correct, excuse me, if I'm not wrong, you can't even buy a Chaplain in Terminator armor. The only one that's available is like the one that was in the limited edition box, like, I don't know, like 2 years ago, maybe. Was it as much as 2 years ago? Maybe it was 18 months. I don't think you can buy a Chaplain in Terminator armor. Like, I don't think he exists on the Games Workshop website. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I'm convinced he was like he was a limited edition model. And you know, Terminators weren't good at that point, or Terminators weren't meta, so not that many people bought him. I mean, I've got him. I bought him when he was limited edition, but I bet a bunch of people didn't. The consideration of bringing in a knight is strong. I was thinking that, Miguel. The toughness on some of those knights, like toughness 13 knights. The game that I took, the Land Raider survived for ages. The problem I think with the Land Raider is like its damage output isn't good. But maybe, like, I was thinking about it, I was like, maybe a Land Raider Redeemer, like, when we looked at the points, we saw that the Redeemer was the most expensive, and I'd kind of written the Redeemer off. But I guess the point is, if you can Overwatch anything, like, you don't have to Overwatch with the unit that's being charged, right? You can just Overwatch with any unit that's within 24 inches of the enemy. I guess with the Redeemer, if you were ever within 12 inches and you could shoot with all those flamers. So yeah, I mean, some people were saying like Battle Predators for Overwatch were actually really good with the flamers. I can kind of understand that. I just don't know if I have enough points in my list to fit in some Battle Predators, right? Sternguard, absolutely not deleting bricks of Custodes. 10 of them in rapid fire range is only killing 1 or 2 models with Oath of Moment rerolls, and each Custodian kills 2 Marines on the charge. Why are Sternguard not killing them? Or Custodes not... are Custodes not infantry? Surely they're infantry, right? Turkey? They gotta be infantry. So the Custodes would be dead because you do 15 mortal wounds to them. What's Custodes? They have a 4 up against mortals. So you... Statistically, I feel like you kill... 10 Sternguard, kill half the unit? Or slightly more than half? Right? I mean, I guess Custodes with their 4 up feel no pain against mortals are the one exception. Every other army's infantry just gets rolled over by Sternguard. Like, if it was another Marine player, he's just lost his whole squad of guys. Like, 10 don't know if you can kill 10 Marines, but you can definitely kill an MSU. Like, you can definitely kill 5 Marines in 1 round of shooting. No problem. David says, do you think Lamartez is worth picking up? I probably... I was going to say probably not. I mean, -1 damage is nice. I don't know if anyone's going to run a large squad of death. Like, is anyone going to run a 10-man squad of Death Company? Is that a thing? The Chaplain Terminator is very strong, says Jim, because the Power Fists are strength 9 with +1 to wound. And he does mortal wound protection. I mean, that does sound strong. I just don't know many people that run Terminator and Terminator Chaplain in a Terminator squad, I guess. I hope. I was going to say, I feel like they might have to tone down some of the mortal wounds already, because what they said is that they wanted to make it less lethal, and it's 100% not. Do you feel like this game is in beta testing? Probably not beta testing, but I feel like this is like that. You know, this is why I was saying to people in chat, it's good that Blood Angels aren't getting their codex first, because like what the game is right now is not what the game's going to be in a year's time, right? So if you get your codex right now, there's a very big risk that you'll get, you know, you'll get the Blood Angels effect from last edition, where it's like, or the Necrons effect from last edition, where it's like you've got an okay codex. It's not great, it's not bad, but you know, it doesn't have all these like broken things that we saw at the end of the edition, where like, or even halfway through, you know, where like there's loads of ways for you, like there's loads of stratagems where you'll do like 6 mortals and stuff like that, like so yeah, I think it's good to not get your codex at the very start, because any codex that's coming out at the start of the edition probably had to be written 3 months ago, so who knows exactly. I play some Black Templars. 11, 3 wound, 2 damage Sword Brothers pouring out Land Raider Crusader with a Chaplain is scary. Yeah, I think the other thing I noticed was they were saying the Thousand Suns Cabal point thing is kind of broken as well, and that they can just disable saves for an enemy unit or model, or and they feel like that's just too strong. So like Thousand Suns can just be like, say, hey, you see that Land Raider over there? You're not going to get to, you can't, this turn you don't get to roll any saves for it. Just every single, I think maybe it has to be a psychic damage attack, but Thousand Suns have basically like a 1 CP strat to convert all their weapons to psychic anyway, so I am slowly reading up on all the other codexes, so I know what the hell I'm going to have to face. David ran a 10-man death company with Jump Pack and attached a chaplain to it. I mean, I guess if you want the death company to ever hold an objective for you, you're going to have to attach a chaplain to it, right? Because if you don't attach a chaplain, you're OC0, which arguably, like if you're going to be OC0, I feel like you're better just running a 5-man and using it like a missile to try and kill a hard target. Because you know, if you try and kill a target on an objective, well, it doesn't matter. You don't control the objective anyway, even though you killed it with the death company and you own, and it's all your guys on the objective. You don't own it because you're OC0. Ten Death Company literally deleted anything they hit. was gonna say it's a lot less attacks than it was last edition though. Like Thunderhammers are down, like 10 Death Company with Thunderhammers used to be 50 attacks on the charge, now it's like 30, right? And now the -1 to hit is built into their profile, so if they ever get hit with -1, it's now, it would be 5s to hit, which is pretty rough. Clint ran Lamarta's, yes. What's Lamarta's other power? He gets -1 damage and what? I forget his other ability. David's really pleased with Hammer of Wrath on the Assault Squad, being able to do a bunch of mortals when they charge. If you have a captain with just Assault Marines, you can have a grenade for free, then Hammer of Wrath followed by a ton of Strength 6. Yeah, I never even thought about the grenade, I guess. How many wounds on average does the grenade do? 3 mortals, is it? Or is it 4 mortals? Death Company is way stronger than Sanguinary Guard, says Fighter CM. I mean, the AP and strength of the Sanguinary Guard now feels really limiting. I mean, there was a time in 9th edition where with the Fury of the Lost secondary, a lot of Blood Angels players had to lean into Death Company lists. Or you know, I think there was a time when I think I was running 4 Death Company units and maybe 1 unit of Sangard. So I mean, I probably think 10th edition in some ways is kind of similar to that. You get lethal hits from Lamartas. Okay. So yeah, I mean, maybe Power Fists are fine then at that point, because you get the pistol damage. You know, lethal hits from Lamartas doesn't like consume potential devastating wounds from the death from Thunderhammers. You get more attacks. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know many players that have loads of Death Company with Power Fists ready to go, right? If you make a lethal hit, you don't proc devastation wounds, Ryan. Auto wounds don't count as an unmodified 6 for like doing your mortals from devastation. Or devastating wounds, sorry. So in some ways, like having lethal hits on the Martes, if you've got a bunch of Thunderhammers, actually could be seen as a disadvantage, because you potentially lose out on all those devastating wounds. Infernal Pistols and Power Fists does look like it would probably make sense now, but I mean, who's I feel like every 6 months in the last edition, or just every 6 months, the weapon options on the Death Company get changed. You know, it was just 6 months ago that we started running Infernal Pistols and Power Swords. I just made like 10 of those guys. They weren't even really finished painting. No, they definitely weren't finished painting. They were probably painted like 60 or 70%, and now it's like, well, I need I'm not buying more. There's no way I'm buying more. I've got so many, and I've got what are you guys expecting to happen about WYSIWYG? Are you expecting every tournament to still enforce WYSIWYG with all these like free war gear and everybody's got the wrong weapon options now? Like, what do you guys think is gonna happen? I mean, maybe some events will completely enforce it. I might just not go to those events because I don't know if I'm going to be bothered with the like, you know, the thing is, if you went out, like, you'll probably see it with the, like, I will not finish painting these Desolation Marines fully before they get nerfed. So it'll be the same, like, if you go and get 10 of your Death Company that had, like, Power Sword Infernal Pistols, and you pull off all 10 Power Swords, and you paint yourself 10 Power Fists, and you magnetize them, all that, just expect that, like, in 6 months' time, it'll be like, oh, you put Power Fists on them? That's definitely not the right call now, you know? You think you don't like the fact that it could be pure WYSIWYG Turkey? Yeah, I mean, I think I'll probably just, if it is pure WYSIWYG, I'll probably end up running like a less strength list, or I might, before I buy a tournament ticket, I'm going to ask if it's pure WYSIWYG, because things just keep changing, and honestly, I'm finding it hard to keep up. Like, I've been very lucky this week. Like, my wife has literally let me sit up here in this office every single night doing Warhammer stuff. Because I got 2 kids as well, right? So it's like, I've been sitting up here every single night doing Warhammer stuff, and I'm just like, man, I get so much Warhammer stuff to do. Like, I just can't keep up. I suppose I could paint faster, but I can't. I'm a slow painter. I'm rubbish at painting fast. I mean, I'm fairly rubbish when I paint slow. Surfsong is magnetizing all his Death Company. I think I'm beyond that point now where I'm just like, I don't care. I magnetize like 20 Vanguard veterans with lightning claws and power fists and thunder hammers and storm shields and infernal pistols, and all that magnetizing is worthless now, right? Because it's like, and so all those extra arms I painted for my Vanguard veterans, all the extra chainsword arms, all the extra lightning claw arms, all the extra thunderhammer arms, it's all worthless. I don't really have a good place to airbrush, unfortunately, Floor Sweeper. I mean, I could airbrush in my garage, but, like, yeah, I'm not really, yeah, we get too much crap in the garage at the moment. Like, I got a lot of, like, kids stuff that I need to sell, like old buggies and stuff like that. So I don't really have a good space for airbrushing. Maybe one day. Oh, I don't think the base coating isn't the problem, man. Maybe it's a little bit slower, the base coating, but I mean, like, I'll base coat 10 of these guys in like an hour and a half. Yeah, I mean, it's not, that's not what eats most of the time in my painting projects, right? Valderin was a huge fan or advocate of WYSIWYG, but this is getting beyond stupid with magnetizing everything. Yeah, well, my issue with it, I suppose, is like Valderin is like you now, when you buy any model now, if the points costs are completely free and, you know, whatever, right, the points cost for the model, like all the war gear and stuff is completely free, you basically now need to know what the best option is for that model from now until end of time. Right, like you need to know which is the best weapon forever, because you're always going to want to have the best weapon on it, because the weapons don't cost points. So why would you never, you know, like there's no like, hey, I'm going to have a death company and I'm going to give them all chain swords because that's nice and cheap and I can use them to just be, you know, like an infantry blender or something like that. Just doesn't exist anymore, I guess, right? So that's my issue with it, is like, you know, when I buy a new squad of models or whatever, I need to just know then and there, right? Like, this is how these models should be made, or I need to spend ages magnetizing them. And honestly, I don't want to have to magnetize everything, I feel like. I don't mind magnetizing some models, you know, like when I was doing my 20 Vanguard veterans and I was like, right, Vanguard veterans are a pretty interesting unit, and you know, maybe I'm going to want to switch some of these weapon options about. I don't mind magnetizing some stuff. I don't want to I don't want to magnetize everything, like I said, till the end of time, to potentially, because if I don't, then those models are going to become worthless. Let's not forget games. I mean, I feel like on the newer kits they probably do provide, like, you know, like for example on the Sangre Guard kit now, you're only allowed to take one Power Fist for every 5 models or something like that, right? Like, so they're probably slowly changing the rules to match that. Like, I think they are trying to change those rules, or however you want to define that, right? Like, you know, yes, in the past, maybe for example, you could buy a Sternguard veteran kit and there wouldn't have been the ability to give every guy a combi flamer. Well, I guess they are like almost actively working to change that, because I mean the reason for doing that is balance, which is fine. But except like the easy to build kits, like obviously the Leviathan kits are an exception to the rule because they're like monopose models for the start of the edition. Those monopose things always are a bit like less options or whatever you want to call it. I didn't have that many problems with CP in the games that I played. I felt CP was fine. You know, like, I guess compared to having CP to start before the game. Yeah, I mean, I think I felt like I was gonna say, I felt like Eldar seemed like crazy strong, and I felt like I feel like devastating wounds is too strong a rule, honestly. Like completely uncapped, I feel like they shoot him. I've been saying for a while they needed to cap how mortal wounds were dealt out. I thought when they talked about less mortals in 9th edition that they had kind of felt the same way, but there's definitely there's more mortal wounds in 9th edition. Sorry, there's more mortal wounds in 10th edition than there is in 9th edition, in my opinion. It's just devastating wounds on certain weapons is just going to make people spam those weapons. And there's, you know, with armies that can manipulate dice rolls and stuff like that, it's too easy for them to do mortal wounds. Back in my day, the squads had to share Thunderhammers. Yeah, I mean, they did, didn't they? I mean, back in my day, you had to buy just like a... What was it? You had to buy the Vanguard Veteran squad every time you bought a Death Company squad to get the 3 extra hammers. There's only one Power Fist. Oh yeah, I guess you will not get enough Infernal Pistols in that Death Company box now either, or the Sanguinary Guard box as well. Michael says he enjoys the challenge of trying to win games with the models he has built. Yeah, I enjoy that too, Michael, and I think that's what I've been trying to say is like, some units, like I definitely magnetized some Vanguard veterans, I definitely magnetized some tanks. Unfortunately, probably most of the ones I magnetized were the Forge World ones, and I definitely magnetized some Dreadnoughts. So like I will magnetize stuff. I don't want, like, I purposely built like a bunch of Death Company with chainswords because I was like, oh, this Death Company is going to be a cheap like this is my like if I want cheap Death Company models, then here is my option. Here's a bunch of guys with chainswords. Well, like now, there's no point. Those 10 completely. The amount of models that basically I have now that like are unfieldable, whatnot with the Forge World changes and with the points cost changes is just kind of annoying, man. Because like if people are dead set on WYSIWYG, then like why am I ever fielding Death Company with chainswords for when the same chainswords and bolt pistols when I can have a plasma pistol or an infernal pistol and a power fist or a power wet. Like there's just no point in the chainsword, guys. There's literally no point. Like you could argue maybe they get one more attack. Okay, so against one wound crappy models, there is maybe a tiny point to take chainswords. But you're never like, if you're building a list to fight like take all corners, take all comers, whatever you want to call it, you're gonna put a better weapon on them and just be like, well, if I do run into a ton of low level infantry, I'll kill them anyway because I've got power swords and they're even better than chainswords. How did the Sanguinary Guard behave in the games? After playing them, you still think they're not playable, and considering the cost? Yeah, I think they're not playable. They're too expensive. They're not survivable enough, and they actually don't do that much damage either. So like for Sanguinary Guard, it's just bad all round. The reason they don't do much damage is their AP's down, man. So I was gonna say, do they get? You know, like typically before you would get the +1 to hit from the Warlord. You don't have that rule anymore. So if you're with Dante, you get +1 to hit, but if you're with your Warlord, you don't get +1 to hit. So Sanguinary Guard, arguably, like, they've gone up 40% in points for like less damage, a very, very, very situational and minor survivability buff, and it is very situational and very minor. And then the banner that gives you OC2. Well, I mean, the banner's cool, I'll give you that. Having OC2 is pretty cool, but the thing is, I don't think OC2 is going to matter all that much, because you have the same problem. If the Sanguinary Guard are not in combat, they're just going to get shot off the table. They're just Marines with 2 wounds and they have no invuln. So any good shooting army can just remove... I mean, any good shooting army can probably remove 10 of them a turn, let alone 5, and 5 is ridiculously expensive at like 215 points. So I don't think you can field 5. I'm gonna say, I don't think you can field 10. I don't even know if you can field 5. I mean, I think there's probably a situation where you can field 5. But when I fielded 5 in Dante, and they jumped in, and they didn't do really enough damage at all, I actually fought with them against an Oath of Moment target as well. So I had full hits and wound rerolls, and they didn't do much damage at all. So yeah, Sangre Guard for me were very underwhelming. I played Dante in 5 Sangre Guard, and that's like, what, 360 points? Something like that, maybe 350. And then the game after, I played 10 Vanguard Veterans with a Captain and the Sangre Priest. And I feel like that squad just worked like a lot better because, yeah, maybe it did a little bit less damage, but I get my free strat because a Captain's there, which is cool. So it means like if I'm gonna potentially want Red Rampage somewhere else, I've got that option. The squad was a lot more survivable, so it was basically hanging around for a few extra turns. Like the Sangre Guard in the game, the second that the enemy really, like, I think I hid them in a Land Raider for like a turn, took them out of the Land Raider. I want to say they killed like 3 Wraith Blades or something, so they killed like 90 points of models. Yeah, I think they killed 90 points of models or something ridiculously low, and then they just died. And that was 360 points. I'm going to be standing outside the GW store selling magnets. No, I'm just not going to magnetize everything. I'm just not going to do it. But yeah, I think it's a bit silly that we need to know the best weapon options forever now. Because you know, like if they make one of the weapons better, they're not going to reduce the point cost for the unit or the other weapons. And I just don't like that, I guess. Hello, Marcus. How are you? I tell you, I feel like the Sangre Guard probably did less damage than the Desolation Marines, and the Desolation Marines are about 2/3 of their cost, and they have like 48-inch range on a bunch of stuff and 36-inch range on other stuff. And you don't have to risk getting overwatched when you try and charge and stuff. I can see why the Ultramarines are potentially going to be one of the strongest factions right now. I think Guilliman plus some of the shooting that the Space Marines have is very, very strong as well. Would I consider a full boss captain? I've got a full boss captain. I ran him 1 or 2 times in 9. What's good about him? I think that points costs for tons of stuff will change. I don't think they got the points cost correct for a lot of things. The full boss captain has the ability to redeploy a few full boss units, snipers, scouts before the battle starts. And he has a one-shot 24-inch sniper rifle with 2 damage with precision. I think he's crap, War Thunder. I don't, unless there's a reason that I'm not seeing, I think he is a crap model. Or I think his rules are crap. I guess it depends on his points. Do you think we'll end up going heavy into full boss for stealth? Do you not just think you'll take 1 or 2 units that have stealth? Like scouts, or... I actually don't really know what all has stealth. I assume eliminators would have stealth. Do you not think you just take a couple of units that's got stealth? Is that not the way to play it? I mean, I wouldn't try and take your whole army with stealth. I don't think the full boss units do very much damage though, so I don't think you could make an army out of them anyway, just because you wouldn't have any damage. I think a Gladiator Lancer is a good buy. I think that is a strong unit to buy, and I think it won't get changed. And the cool thing about the Gladiator tank is like you can easily magnetize the turret and the sponsons on the Gladiator tank. So that is one thing that I would magnetize. And you can also just pull the top off the turret, and then you've got an impulsor as well, because it's the same chassis basically. So yeah, if you're looking for something to buy right now, I was thinking about buying another Gladiator. It was like pretty high on my list. I hadn't decided what loadout I was going to use the second Gladiator one for, but I was going to probably magnetize it. So Michael says he's going to run Dante with 5 Vanguard Vets with Storm Shields, and also Assault Score with jump packs to dish out mortals on the charge. What does Dante give the Assault Squad over the Captain? I mean, I guess Dante gets quite a lot more 2 damage attacks. The Captain lets you save some CP. I think the next list I build will probably have Van Vets in it. Might have like 1 squad of that Thunderhammer Death Company, just to sort, because I always run Thunderhammer Death Company probably, and they are kind of like a missile. So probably still run those. But I think I might just run no Sangre Guard. I think they're too expensive at the moment. I might continue to run the Death Company Dreadnought. I got one more guy to paint. It's like 11:30 on Sunday night. Apparently my eyes are glazing over. This always happens when I try and paint late at night. I'm trying to think. I did get up quite early today actually for a Sunday. I got up at like 7:30. So yeah, I got like 10 more minutes. So if there's any big questions, you can ask me. If not, I'm going to be probably trying to break down all my games. I think I said at the start of the stream, I'm going to break down all the battles that I had yesterday. Break down on a unit by unit basis, and try and make some sort of video on like first impressions of using all the units on the battlefield in 10th edition, and like share my thoughts around that. Would you say melee is less effective than shooting now? It does seem that way. I mean, we took a big hit losing Shock Assault and +1 to wound, I guess. Or, not Shock Assault, Savage Echoes. So, yeah, I mean, charges are more risky for us now, because we don't have the same level of movement. And that's why, like, I honestly think there might be some play around the Gladiatus detachment, because the advance and charge is really strong. It's our only way to get more movement, really, or be able to make if you can't make the charges, then you just die in no man's land, right? So having the ability to like advance and charge could actually be one of the strongest things that we've got the access to. Dante is +1 to charge and +1 to hit. Okay. I guess +1 to hit on Vanguards is good, because they normally hit on 3s. I guess the only question, I suppose, is like Captain gives them +1 strength, so they hit on strength 6. Yeah, maybe like if you're just running Vanguard veterans, like 5 of them, maybe Dante is better actually. So I ran like one giant block of van vets, like a 10-man. But maybe I should run like a Dante with 5 and a captain with 5. Interesting. I don't really rate Icon of the Angel anymore, I guess, Dave. I don't like those. I don't like enhancements when they only target like certain classes of enemy infantry, or sorry, certain classes of enemy units, because you never know what you're going to be up against. So if you're spending points on like Armor of Contempt and it's only going to work into one army, and you're going to go to a tournament and play against 4 different armies, and Armor of Contempt's only going to work in 1 game out of 4, then you're like, wow, well, that was a waste of points, wasn't it? Alright. Last guy. Move all these guys. I think I'm going blue helmets on the Desolation Marines for... Technically they're heavy support, right? This must have been when my can of red spray paint was kind of running out. I need to go get a new can tomorrow or... Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to do Leviathan, I would need to get a new can of red spray paint. I don't know if I'm going to build any of the new guys with the flamers. I really don't think they're going to be that useful. Having played like 3 games and looking at Battle Shock, like Battle Shock is about as meaningful as leadership. So I was going to say, like, you can definitely go through whole game. You can probably go through whole games where like you never fail a Battle Shock test. Or you fail one and then you just pay the 1 CB to auto pass it. So if Battle Shocks are passed like 80% of the time, 90% of the time, then it's like those new Flamer guys are just useless. Or I guess they're not useless, but like I just don't see why you would pick them. Because they're not that cheap, right? They're 90 points for 5 guys with strength 5 flamers. I mean, you can Overwatch with them. I was going to say, if you want to Overwatch with a flame unit, you'd be better getting a Ball Predator, in my opinion. Hey, I don't have any Ball Predators built with Flamestorm cannons. So if anyone wants to trade Infernus Marines for Ball Predators with Flamestorm cannons, I do that trade in a second flat. So I don't think the Infernus Marines are going to be any use whatsoever. I think they're garbage. I don't necessarily think they're garbage. I mean, I think they probably look pretty cool and stuff. I guess the rules, the Battle Shock rules, are not impactful enough, I think, for me to want to run those guys, I feel like. Does anyone in chat care about the Infernus Marines? Anyone thinks they're going to be good? Pedro says there's so much positivity. Yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you what I saw from playing Pedro. Battle Shock does not seem like it's good. You know, I often pick Oath of Moment as a secondary in 9th edition because Marines tend to go through the game failing like 1 leadership test or something. Or they did in 9th edition, right? So Oath of Moment was a very safe secondary to pick. You would usually get like 10 plus points on it every single time you pick. And one of the conditions was that every turn you would get 1 point if you didn't fall back and didn't fail leadership. And I would say like 9 games out of 10, you would score 4 or 5 points for that. Sometimes you'd want to fall back, sure, so you might fall back. 1 in every 2 or 3 games you would fail leadership test. Yes, you will fail the odd battle shot test now. Like, you will fail some, but like it just, like I'm trying to think how many battle shot tests I had to take. Like probably had to take like 20 this weekend over 2 games, so probably had to take about 10 a game. Probably only failed like 2 each game, and then it doesn't last long at all. It's like it lasts until your command phase. If it's forced by if the enemy forces you to take it during your phase, then it only lasts your command phase. Thank you so much, Pizza Time, for following. Appreciate that. Big Dirt says, I was thinking 5 Vanguard vets, captain with a jump pack, with Artisan of War, and a Sangre Priest with a jump pack. You get +1 AP with the free stratagem. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it. That makes your Vanguard vets -2. There is a way to get your Vanguard vets up to -3, but to do that you need to use the Gladiatus detachment. But I used it and it seemed pretty strong, so I guess you can look into that as well. If you want Vanguard veterans to be strength 6 -3, then you can do that. It also makes your Thunderhammer -3 when... No, so hold on, that makes your Thunderhammer -4. Shit, I think I played it at -3, so that would actually make your Thunderhammer -4. Oh, that's cool then. I didn't realize that it made your Thunderhammer so high AP. War Thunder is going to try the Infernus Marines and a Land Raider Redeemer. I think the Redeemer is probably the best one now. But yeah, let me know how that goes on. I don't think I'm going to even make my Infernus Marines for now. If I make anything out of the new box set, it's going to be the new Dreadnoughts. And the Stern Guard, I think. Hey Alien Phoenix, you're logging in just like literally as I'm putting the final tiny little bit of paint on this guy's undercoat and I'm going to bed. How are you? I'm going to make a video on all... I think if you're just logging in, I was saying that I'm going to make a video talking over all my first impressions of the games I played in 10th and what I liked and what I didn't like from the different units. Which units I'm probably going to field again, which units I'm not going to field again. Which units... I'll just go over everything, talk about points. And I think I'm just going to talk about every unit that I fielded. I might talk about some of the secondaries as well, actually. I've used it to stop people from interrupting combat. Had to force the leadership test twice, but worked so well. How did I find the first games of 10th? I think the games were fun. I think the rule set seemed fun. I just think the balance was not correct. Like, Eldar have a crazy obnoxious mechanic with that fate dice, and it seems to me that that's overpowered. And then the second game against Knights was always going to be difficult because the new toughness, right? And when you've got like Sangre Guard and stuff, which are like strength 5, and you to attack toughness 13 Knights, and you're only -2 AP. I mean, you can just do the math there. You're not doing a lot of damage. Even Thunderhammers aren't the best you're ever going to get probably is wounding on a 4. Like even into an Armiger. So like before we could wound Armigers on 2s, now we're wounding them on 4s. And I think you probably have to spend CP to get it to wound on a 4. If you don't spend CP, you're wounding Armigers on 5s with melee units. It's yeah, Knights are going to be a tough one for us. I mean, I feel like Knights... Well, I played Gav Knights a couple of times last edition and got smoked by them every time. I don't even think I ever had a game where I was close to beating Gav's Knights. Like I don't even think I ever had a game where I was within like 30 points of beating Gav's Knights. How about Grav Devastators? I mean, the anti-vehicle 2+ is nice, but I mean, are people at? I don't. I was gonna say, I don't know. Is there a list where we can bring Grav Devastators and make it work? Like, how many would you need to bring, and how would you make it work? I don't know. At least I've got some games under my belt now. Hopefully, gonna play another game on Wednesday night this week. And then sometime after, like, I feel like the list I make this week will be better because I've at least got a bit of knowledge from the 2 games that I've played. I feel like I can probably build a better list, and then can probably start opening the army list show sometime shortly after that. Three damage a hit from the grav guns is pretty nice. How many shots does a grav gun get? Is it still 4? Or a grav cannon, I guess. I think I've got a few Devastators made with grav cannons. I know Andrew's got a ton because he used to run them in Iron Hands. I think you'd have to pay something to... Is there a way? Is there a strat? I think there's maybe a strat in Devastate. I think it's called like Storm of Fire, where you can get 1 additional point of AP. So yeah, you'd probably need to pay like Storm of Fire every time you shoot the grav, so you get 1 additional AP. Or I suppose there's like a Thunder Strike you could take to get 1 additional point of AP. I was honestly thinking like running a Thunder Strike to get the +1 to wound. I think that's +1 to wound and shooting, right? Alright. Devastator number 10 is undercoated with Evil Sun Scarlet. That's going to be me for tonight then. Storm of Fire. You can attach core below to the grav guns for 5 up, feel no pain. I would think it would be better to attach possibly someone with bolter discipline. Because bolter discipline I think would give you sustained hits. And you'd also burst on 5s rather than just burst on 6s. Hey Foz, good evening, how are you? But I mean, I've got a few ideas for lists. I'm gonna make a new list for this week for sure, I guess. I'm probably not gonna take any Land Raiders or Repulsors. I was kind of thinking that, like, if you asked me like a week ago, I was thinking a Land Raider or Repulsor would probably be quite a core part of my strategy. I don't think it's going to be part of my strategy at all. I don't think I'm going to take either. Meticulous Chaos, thank you so much for the $5. So I use Evil Sun Scarlet. I was going to say, I just turned my light off. I'll turn it back on.
Meticulous Chaos donated $5 via
I'll get a red
Super
marine as well.
What is your recipe for the VA red armor?
So there. That's what he looks like when he's just got the coat of Evil... I'll actually put 2 coats of Evil Sun Scarlet on it. So I do 2 coats of Evil Sun Scarlet, and then I just basically wash the whole friggin' model, all the recesses, all the armor joints, with Agrax Earthshade. You can see it in all these all these little bits of armor joints, whatever you want to call it, around the corner of the shoulder pads, underneath the Aquila, whatever. And then I just tidy it up with Evil Sun after that. So it's like it's pretty lazy. It's a pretty lazy way to do it. There's no edge highlighting. But I think it looks totally fine. I'm happy with it. Like, so you can see it around all these armor panels. They basically have like it's kind of like an edge highlighting with the wash, just being lazy. Meticulous Chaos. And then anywhere the wash like pools, I just try and clean it up. You know, so it's basically a pin wash. Like, we just pin wash all the bits. It's simple and effective. Thank you, dude. Yeah, I mean, it is very simple, but it is also reason. I'm slow painter. So yeah, you can. So what I do is I spray the model white, because you can see here you still got bits of white. Then I spray it Mephiston red. Then I quickly, I don't know how quickly. Someone said I need to get an airbrush. I probably do. I do 2 coats of Evil Sun Scarlet, Agrax it, and then tidy up after with Evil Sun Scarlet, and then I varnish them all because they're all
Highland
varnished.
Phoenix donated
apparently I draw up my models all the
via
time.
Super Chat. A drink for your efforts over 10th Ed Day weekend. Beer.
Thanks so much, Highland Phoenix. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you to everyone that supported the channel this month. This channel has been doing really well. This has been my best month ever on YouTube in terms of like views. I guess because everybody's wanting to know all about 10th edition. So it's been very cool actually to get like quite a lot of like. Well, it's been cool to get a lot of views, but it's been cool to get a lot of positive comments. More positive comment, like an unbelievable amount of positive comments this month actually. Alright, I need to go to bed. My eyes are like, they're telling me it's bedtime. I don't think I'm gonna be live tomorrow night, because I want to do that reaction video where I talk over all the. So I'm going to be filming a video tomorrow night. I think I'm going to be live on Wednesday for a game. If it's not a game, I guess I'll be painting. But I might try and get 2 videos out this week. If I've got time, I'm going to try and do 2. I don't know if I've got time, but Maverick says the tips over the last year have been very helpful. Thanks, dude. Yeah, no, I'm gonna do a video that I think will be quite quick, where it's just like I'm gonna pull up the army lists of the 2 battles that I did, and I'm gonna step by step through every unit and tell you what I thought of every unit, its points cost, how it did. So I think I don't need to prep that. I think I could just film that in a oneer. So I'm gonna try and film that, and then I'm try and make a tactics video for Friday. If I don't have time for Friday, then I guess that video will go on Friday. But we'll see. We'll see what time I've got this week. Alright, enjoy your weekend, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great evening. I hope you did all have a good 10th edition day. And if there's any comments or questions, leave me a, you know, if there's video ideas you want to see, you can leave them in the Discord. There's a video ideas room. I haven't looked at the video ideas room much over the last couple of months, I guess, but I should get back to it now that we're into 10th edition. And I definitely in 9th edition made a bunch of videos from that videos ideas room. So cool. Yeah, I've been trying to pump out content. I appreciate that. Alright, enjoy your evening, guys. I'll see you all later. Peace, good night.